Part 64. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 631. Chapter 631. Only Chiu Feng knows the truth. As he spoke, Ji Yin took a step forward and said, "My master said that all of our internal organs have qi. Just now Beizu got stuck in the airway after eating fish skin beans. If he can't breathe, he will suffocate to death. In such a situation, find the position of on her belly button, make a fist with one hand, wrap it up with the other hand, and push it diagonally upward a few times. In this way, the qi stored in the internal organs will be pushed outward, and the things blocked in the airway will be pushed out. If the airway is clear, the person will live. But it must be in time, otherwise if it takes too long, the person will be saved. It's easy to become a fool." As she spoke, she called two boys to come forward and guided them in the demonstration. Finally, she told them, "But if it doesn't get stuck, don't use it casually, as it can easily hurt people. This method is not too complicated, and it is even called rock paper scissors." Everyone present unconsciously followed it and quickly understood it. It turns out that it's that simple and you can save people. Yeah, rock paper scissors, I learned it. Don't be afraid if something like this happens in the future. The two young men looked at each other, and then looked at Ji Yin's smiling face. They were a little worried for her. The young man in green asked tentatively, "Princess, will you be punished for teaching us secret arts like this?" There was silence in the pavilion, and everyone stopped talking and laughing. Ji Yin glanced at her mother, Tao Hongying nodded lightly, and Ji Yin smiled and said, "My master often said that studying medical skills all your life is just to save people. If the way to save people has to be hidden, then what do you do with it? So, after you have learned the method today, you can teach it to more people. It will really come in handy in the future, and my master's hard work will not be in vain." Everyone listened in awe, and quickly formed an image of an old miraculous doctor with a celestial spirit, and praised him one after another. The old miracle doctor is really a kind-hearted doctor. Yes, Tianwu is really lucky to have such a miraculous doctor. Dozens of miles away in Broken Gold Beach, divine Dr. Zhang was squatting in his yard. His clothes were stained, his hair and beard were messy, and there were a few patches of black ash on his face. He didn't care about this at all, he was drooling over the roasted rabbit in front of him. But just when he was about to open his mouth to take a bite, he suddenly sneezed twice, and then cursed angrily, "Which dares to scold me and kill your whole family?" After saying that, he casually pulled up his sleeves and wiped his face, then opened his cheeks and started eating. "Wow, it tastes really good. I haven't eaten for a long time, and I suddenly ate it. It's so satisfying." Autumn wind passed by the yard and hung around the old man with saliva. Unfortunately, the old man hid the rabbit tightly and did not give it a chance to smell the fragrance. In the end, he threw two bones in a provocative manner. The autumn wind was so angry that it turned around and blew the old man's face black and gray, and he quickly slipped away. Everyone in the Geo family has no idea that the old miracle doctor they think of as a fairy is actually more suitable for the word beggar. But that doesn't matter, it doesn't stop them from admiring and praising the old man. Everyone who listened to the good news praised the old man in heaven and on earth, and couldn't help but laugh in their stomachs. After talking for a while, the banquet started and everyone left the garden. Even though Beizu recovered a lot, he was sent back to her yard to recuperate. The other little girls are each looking for their own mothers. They are all well behaved and dignified, which shows that there is no shortage of well-educated mothers in the family. Since today is the old lady's birthday, what happened just now is hidden from the male guests in the front yard and the main yard. Because Mrs. Wen was pregnant, she stayed with Mrs. Jia and did not go to the garden. But she was careful, and she still saw something was wrong. But Tao Hongying's face remained as usual, and the good news was also smiling around her, so she felt relieved. The children and grandchildren of the three families of the Jia family are very filial, and the birthday banquet is very sumptuous. Before the banquet started, Tao Hongying surprised everyone by presenting a birthday cake. After all, such novel snacks are so rare and can only be eaten on birthdays. Both the meaning and the appearance are very good. Mrs. Jia smiled from ear to ear and said that she was really happy to celebrate her birthday. Mrs. Jia personally cut the longevity peach in the old birthday star's hand with a wooden knife and gave it to her mother-in-law. As a result, Mrs. Jia only took one bite and she was pleasantly surprised and said, "Oh, this longevity peach really tastes like a peach." Peach means peach flavor? This sounds strange, but everyone understood it, and felt that the birthday cake was made with exquisite care. There was a quick-tongued woman who smiled and cheered up the old lady and said, "Oh, old lady, please give us a bite. My saliva will turn into a river." "Yes, old lady, we are really here at the right time today. Follow the old lady and try this birthday cake. After we go back, we will be able to brag to our relatives and friends for a few days." Others also agreed, making everyone laugh. "Stop." Mrs. Jia quickly gave orders, and soon, the two-layer birthday cake was divided up. Women and children are naturally fond of sweets, especially this kind of soft and sweet food that melts in your mouth, which is simply irresistible. It's okay for adults, they can still control themselves after eating, but children can't. There are two little kids aged 3 or 4 who are making noises and want to eat more. Their mother talked to Tao Hongying and asked a few more questions. Tao Hongying took the opportunity to advertise her daughter's snack shop. Of course, she couldn't say that her daughter was obsessed with money. She only said that when she was learning cooking, she accidentally figured it out. It was a pity that it was wasted, so she opened a snack shop so that everyone could try such novel things. Everyone had learned such a miraculous way to save people from Jiyan before, and now they heard that the birthday cake was also made by her, and they were even more moved. They are all children. My own children are naughty and annoying, but other people's children can save people and make snacks at the same time. According to rumors, the Li family regarded this granddaughter with the same eyes, and the Marquis also regarded her as a treasure. It seemed that she was really special. From now on, I don't want the girls in my family to move around more. If we can make good friends with each other, even if we can't learn anything, there will be no harm. Thinking like this, everyone said that they would definitely go and cheer on the opening day. The birthday banquet had such a good start, and the rest was lively and smooth. As the sun set in the west, everyone left one after another. Mrs. Jia sent Mrs. Wen and Tao Hongying to the car and thanked them again and again. On the way, Mrs. Wen was surprised and happy when she heard the good news that she had rescued the Jia girl. She hugged Jiyan and kept praising her, "Our Fu Niu is so smart. She has only studied medicine for a few days and she is already able to save people." There were 3 children in the Jia family, and they gave birth to 5 boys and 2 girls, but the eldest girl had already been married, and Beizu was the youngest and was highly favored. If something happens to Beizu, life will be difficult for the Jia family. You are not saving Beizu, you are saving the Jia family, especially the second wife. After saying that, she told Tao Hongying, "Go home and prepare to entertain guests. It is estimated that the Jia family will come to thank you tomorrow." Tao Hongying nodded and said with a smile, "Okay, the Jia family looks pretty good." Today's incident was also unexpected and really scary. Fortunately, Fu Niu learned some skills and was by her side, otherwise the orb would have been really dangerous. However, Fu Niu is small and very tired. She almost fell on the back of her head. Fortunately, someone helped her. Mrs. Wen was startled and quickly looked at the back of Jiyan's head. End of this chapter. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 632. Chapter 632 The Unreliable Big Boss. Everyone in the Lee family, including relatives, friends, and the whole village, knew that the back of Ji-yun's head should never be touched. This child had a fall and injured the back of his head. He fell asleep for a long time and almost died. Ji-yun's hair was pulled out by her aunt, and she smiled. She hid and said with a smile, "Mom, Aunt, Beizhu is so cute, like a greedy little hamster. Can I be friends with her in the future?" Tao Hongying was amused when she heard this. She glared at her daughter and said angrily, "You said she is greedy, but you are not far behind. You guys are the eldest brother, so don't laugh at the second brother." Ji-yun stuck out his tongue, hugged me again and acted like a coquettish girl. Even if she was disliked, she would not let go. After chatting and laughing all the way back to Zinken, Mrs. Lee was already standing in front of the door with concern and looking around. It wasn't until her granddaughter jumped out of the carriage like a little bird, hugged her and started chattering about how she made new friends today that Mrs. Lee finally felt relieved. Everyone entered the courtyard, and when they talked about what happened today, Mrs. Lee and Wenjuan were both surprised. Especially when Mrs. Lee hugged her granddaughter and kept telling her, You have to be careful when eating in the future. Don't cause such a thing, do you understand?" "I know, Grandma," of course Ji-yun agreed wholeheartedly, but then she remembered that her family and the people in the village didn't know the Heimlich maneuver yet, so if someone from the Geo family came, they would be in trouble. So, she quickly called Shui Ling to finish the work. Shui Ling admired her little master so much that she didn't care where she learned this method. She just remembered that it was passed on from her little master. She immediately ran to the entrance of the village. Just as the school was over, a group of naughty boys, Mr. Zhang, and many villagers were talking under the big tree. She teaches on the spot and makes sure that everyone can learn it. Everyone heard that it was a life-saving method, and today they saved a little girl. They all learned it seriously, and even practiced it together with the two of them, and they quickly learned it. The village chief uncle and Uncle Zhao rushed to the Li family yard after hearing the news. After hearing the whole story carefully, they also took it seriously. After they returned, they urged everyone in the village to learn it, and even sent people to teach it in Xiaoangzhuang and Awaisha village. Of course, some people are curious about the origin of this method of saving people. Everyone in the new village responded without hesitation. It was Dr. Zhang who figured it out. Because Ji-yun is a disciple of divine Dr. Zhang. Thus, without the knowledge of divine Dr. Zhang, he was admired and praised countless times by people in and outside the village. Fortunately, he has been working on new medicines in the past 2 years and rarely appears in the village and valley. Even if he appears occasionally, he is used to being looked up to and praised by everyone. He has no idea that his little apprentice has painted his face with a thick layer of gold powder. Mrs. Wen's guess was wrong, because the Geo family did not come to the door the next day. But the Li family didn't care. After all, when they rescued Beizhu, it wasn't for the Geo family's gratitude. Soon, the family's attention was focused on the opening of the dim sum shop. Early in the morning on the 8th day of September, all the young and old of the Li family, including Mrs. Wen, got dressed and entered the city together. In fact, there are shopkeepers Peng and Chen 11 in the shop, so the masters are the ones doing the work. But this is Ji-yun's first business. Instead of worrying about things at home, the whole family might as well gather in the backyard of the shop to listen to the excitement and gain confidence and support. Ji-yun was so happy that his heart was bubbling with joy. When he arrived at the shop, he settled his family in place and went to the front to check. The shop has been renovated, and is very different from most of the shops on the shopping street. The lobby on the first floor is paved with solid wood floors, which are polished smooth and painted with multiple layers of tung oil. They look clean no matter how you look at them. There was also a 3-foot square felt blanket laid out at the entrance, so that the dust and mud on the soles of the shoes could be rubbed in and out. After entering the shop, there is a counter on the left-hand side, which is only half a person's height, making it very convenient to pick up and place things. Further inside is a staircase leading to the second floor. Directly opposite and to the right are a row of large wooden cabinets with transparent glass covers, which contain various snacks, cakes and snacks. Let people see clearly without fear of dust. Behind each large wooden cabinet is a little boy, wearing new clothes and pants, with a hat covering his hair, and even sleeves and gloves on his hands. He is smiling and waiting to get snacks for the guests. Going up the stairs to the second floor, there are 4 boxes near the window, the same size but different styles. Some have low beds and small square tables, some have leisure chairs with swings, some are filled with cute dolls, and some are simple fabric sofas. Opposite the box, there are several scattered seats separated by screens, and there are also windows for ventilation. It's just that the windows are designed to be higher, making it easier to see the backyard, ensuring the privacy of the backyard. The entire upstairs and downstairs are decorated with many green plants and potted flowers, and paintings are hung on the walls. It's just that the paintings are not landscape paintings, but various fabric paintings, leaf stickers, etc., which are vivid and interesting. It happens that it is a sunny day today, the air is crisp and the autumn air is crisp, and the sun is shining in from the outside. The clean floor, warm decoration everywhere, and the sweet smell in the air make people feel extremely relaxed and happy as soon as they enter. Ji-Yun looked around and was barely satisfied. This was an ordinary shop in the previous life, but in Tianwu it is definitely unique. Seeing that the auspicious time had come and many people gathered in front of the door to watch the fun, shopkeeper Peng became a little anxious and stepped forward and asked, "Master, there is no plaque yet. When will the cannons be fired to open the business?" Ji-Yun glanced outside the door subconsciously, wondering if the big boss in the palace had forgotten about it. At this time, Li Zhensheng and Li Laoer also came over and asked the same question when they entered the room. Ji-Yun was really embarrassed. "I was wondering whether I should go to the palace to ask, or just open the business like this. There is no plaque, maybe it can become a topic and add some heat to the shop." As a result, there was suddenly a lot of excitement outside the door. General Manager Yi finally arrived with his people carrying the plaque. His outfit as a eunuch-in-chief makes him the center of attention wherever he goes. As soon as he arrived in front of the door, many people gathered to watch. "Oh, Princess, I'm really sorry. Something happened to the old slave when he left the palace. He was delayed for a while. Didn't it hinder the business?" Manager Yi came in, bowing and apologizing. Of course, we couldn't blame him for the good news, and quickly said with a smile, "Don't worry, Mr. Yi, it's going to be an auspicious time soon, it's just the right time." Li Zhensheng and Li Laoer also came forward to greet Mr. Yi. After exchanging a few words, shopkeeper Peng had already led someone to hang up the plaque. The plaque was covered with red silk, so no one knew what was written on it. There were onlookers watching, talking in low voices. "What's going on? Wasn't it originally a dim sum shop? It was renovated and opened." "Yes, I bought snacks here last month, but what is the background of this new owner? He came from the palace to present a plaque. Isn't it a shop opened by the emperor?" "Nonsense, how can the emperor do business by himself?" Soon, Ji-Yun and Manager Yi walked out laughing together, and everyone quickly shut up for fear of missing out on the excitement. The third update is here. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 633. Chapter 633. A guest in the world of mortals passes among the white clouds. Shopkeeper Peng stood on one side and said loudly to everyone, "Dear fellow villagers and distinguished guests who are passing by, today is the opening day of our store. The shop specializes in all kinds of novel snacks and snacks, guaranteed to be Tianwu's unique taste and way of eating. Opening promotion today, 20% off, free tastings and gifts, regular price will be restored in 3 days, don't miss it if you pass by. After saying that, he waved his hand and the boy lit the firecrackers. With a crisp crackling sound, Jiyan and manager Yi worked together to lift off the red silk on the plaque, revealing the 3 characters white clouds. The font is vigorous, with flying dragons and phoenixes, which shows that the person writing is very careful. There is also a small seal in the lower right corner of the plaque with the words "Guest of the Red Dust" written on it. After setting off the firecrackers, Mr. Yi glanced at everyone with a smile, turned around and said with good news, "The emperor said that the small cake looks like white clouds, so it is appropriate to call it Baiun cake. So, when I named the shop, I also chose the word Baiunjian." Jiyan smiled and clapped her hands, "The name is so nice. Immortals live among the white clouds, so even the gods like the cakes in our shop." Manager Yi laughed and led him into the house with the good news. He walked around, then took some cakes and snacks and put them in the food box and brought them back to the emperor. The boy loaded the things quickly, but his fingers were trembling. This was of course because he was excited. The first customer of their shop was actually the emperor. Soon, General Manager Yi took the young and returned to the palace with his things. There was silence in front of the shop door for a long time, and then suddenly the noise started. Did the father-in-law just now say that the emperor named this shop? Not only that, the plaque on this shop is written by the emperor. Impossible, it's just a shop for buying snacks. He is the master of a country, how can he have time to take care of such a trivial matter? Perhaps the food in this shop is delicious. Didn't you see the carrying the food box and leaving? Maybe he brought it back for the emperor to eat. There were also some people who had some knowledge. After listening to everyone's nonsense, they finally couldn't help but speak. "What do you know? That father-in-law just now is the chief beside the emperor. The words on the plaque are also the cursive calligraphy that the emperor is good at. Hong Chen guessed is the emperor's personal print." Ah! Everyone gasped when they heard it, and they were so shocked that they didn't know what to say. This shop cannot be opened by the emperor, otherwise why would he put so much effort into supporting it? The man from before said again, "But this shop is not opened by the emperor, the owner behind it is Princess Kangal." Princess Kangal? The adopted daughter of Marquis Inting, the charming daughter of the Li family of Sujintan. That's no wonder. Everyone was suddenly enlightened. The emperor has great faith in Xintinghao, but Xintinghao does not marry or have children, and only regards Princess Kangal, his adopted daughter, as his eyeball. The emperor loves his family and his family, so there is nothing wrong with supporting his niece's business. Everyone looked at each other, thought they understood the whole story, and rushed into the shop decisively. The emperor supports it, and the marquis is his backer. Not to mention whether the snacks in the shop are good or not, even if the dog excrement is carved into a flower, he still has to buy one and offer it back. The crowd was noisy, but after entering the shop, they unconsciously silenced their voices and moved their feet cautiously. Because the floor they stepped on was too clean, the transparent glass in front of the counter was too bright, the smell on their noses was too sweet, and the whole shop was too warm. In such a space, I am poorly dressed, my shoes are dirty, and I don't seem to dare to move more. Fortunately, the boys were enthusiastic enough and introduced various products, large birthday cakes, and the prices of each snack to everyone with a smile. Jiyan has loved snacks since she was a child, and her relatives and friends love her and keep buying them home. It can be said that she has eaten at all the dim sum shops in and around Zindu. Hence, her own shop is positioned as a boutique line with novel taste and elegant taste. Targeting the pockets of young gentlemen from well-off families, ordering birthday cakes, and reaping the dividends of a group of old people and children. Generally, those who can be attracted by their own shops and have the urge to spend are not money-hungry people. Hence, the prices of food in the shop are not low. No, to be honest, it is very expensive. The palm-sized small cake only costs about 30 yen and sells for 500 yen. A birthday cake with a single layer and 1 foot in diameter costs 2 taels of silver. On this basis, the larger the diameter and the more layers, the price will double. The most expensive one is custom made. The birthday cake is made according to the customer's wishes and the size is adjusted. The price is more than 20 taels. As for various biscuits, honey cakes, fish skin beans, crispy rice, popcorn, potato chips, etc., the price ranges from 50 to 100 cents per tael. In this way, just grabbing a handful will cost you dozens of coins. In order to cope with customers' curiosity, the shop also has snack boxes. An exquisite small wooden box with 4 compartments, each compartment holds 1 or 2 snacks. The total price is 2 to 300 yuan, which is equivalent to giving away a wooden box for free. Such a price directly dissuaded most of the customers who came through the door. They just looked at the novelty, smelled it, tasted a piece of biscuit or crispy rice, and then left quickly. Of course, they will not admit that they are short of money. But if there is anything bad about Bianjian, they dare not violate their conscience. After all, Bianjian has everything except being expensive. The small number of people left behind are those who are not short of money. The Biun cake named after the emperor is sweet and soft. I bought a piece for my mother to enjoy freshly. From time to time, the boys introduced the basic ingredients for various kinds of food to the guests, including precautions. For example, cream cakes should be eaten as early as possible and should not be left overnight. Do not eat them if they taste sour. Otherwise, you may spoil your stomach. This is because the ingredients they use are fresh enough and cannot be aged. Li Zhensheng and shopkeeper Pen were in the front hall. Occasionally, he would meet regular customers who often went to Xianqi Lai. Jiyan was busy for a while. Seeing that everything was going well, he wanted to go back and see his family. But at this time, some new girls that Jiyan met at the Jia family's birthday party arrived. Jia Beizu ran in first, leading several little sisters, followed by Mrs. Jia Er and the mothers of the little girls. Jiyan, we are here to cheer you up. Beizu hugged Jiyan's arm, like a koala, sniffing around and couldn't help but said, there are so many delicious foods. The other little girls also greeted the good news with smiles and said in unison, Princess, we are here. Welcome, welcome, Jiyan smiled brightly, saluted Mrs. Jia Er and others, and then quickly led them to the second floor. Come, follow me to the second floor to eat and play. It's quiet over there. As she spoke, she called Shui Ling to go to the back to invite the elders. Soon, everyone went up to the second floor. Different from the bustle on the first floor, the second floor is much cleaner and warmer. The little girl couldn't walk when she saw the box full of dolls. She rushed in and hugged one by one. She was so happy. End of this chapter. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 634. Chapter 634 An Unexpected First Encounter. Mrs. Jia Er and others took a fancy to the private room with a low bed and coffee table. They leaned in front of the window and looked at the scenery, which was a rare moment of relaxation. The lower half of the window is also covered with a thin layer of gauze. The street outside can be clearly seen from inside the house, but people outside cannot see inside. This is perfect for a woman to take a break. At this time, Tao Hongying and Mrs. Wen also came up to accompany the guests. When everyone met, it was natural for them to talk and laugh. Mrs. Jia Er and others praised the shop very much. Of course they are not exaggerating, everything among the white clouds is indeed novel and comfortable. Mrs. Jia Er smiled and asked, Whose ingenuity was it to put this kind of lokong in front of the window? 2 or 3 little sisters made an appointment to go shopping, and when they were tired, they would come and sit. How comfortable it is. It's a pity that I didn't have such a good place when I was young, otherwise I would have to come here every day. Tao Hongying said, "It's not too late now. I'll make an appointment with my daughter-in-law and daughter-in-law to go out together. When you're tired, just come over and sit. It happens that the shop often launches new products, so you can help us try out the taste." By chance, Shuiling and Shuiyun brought something over. They brought a portion of almost all the food in the cupboard on the first floor, paired with exquisite plates and silver hairpins, which were exquisite and beautiful. There are also milk tea and fruit drinks in mugs of various shapes, which are completely different from the refreshments that everyone has seen before. Out. Who would have thought that socializing would be so easy? There are no men in the box, so they can take off their shoes and sit and laugh casually. Drinking a sip of hot milk tea and taking a bite of a soft and sweet cake makes you feel more comfortable than a god. In the box next to it, the little girls were also playing crazy. Hold a soft and cute stuffed animal in your arms or lean on it. Chattering, eating snacks, drinking milk tea, and competing with each other on various puzzle games, it's not too lively. Jia Beizu hugged Jiyan and complained, "Jiyan, I just got stuck in my throat. My mother forced me to lie on the bed for 2 days. If I hadn't begged my grandma, my mother wouldn't have let me out today. However, my grandma and my mother said they would visit your home the day after tomorrow. Thank you for saving my life." "You're welcome, I did it with just a little effort that day. We both played so well, how could I watch you get stuck?" Jiyan was afraid that the orb would get stuck again, so he snatched the peanuts from her hand and replaced them with rice crackers. She continued, "There are still a lot of fruits on my mountain that have not been picked. When you go, I will take you to sit on the tree and eat while picking. And my brother has found a lot of good flowers and new things for me from the south. I will take you to see them when the time comes." Seriously, Beizu's eyes lit up when he heard it, and he nodded repeatedly, "The day after tomorrow has to come soon. I'm so looking forward to it that I can't sleep." The other little girls were also envious when they heard it, but they couldn't take the initiative to speak and could only watch helplessly. In fact, even if good news invites them, they may not be able to go, because their family discipline is very strict, and they always follow the rules and etiquette. Jiyan saw their disappointment and said, "Forget it this year, my princess's mansion should be built by May next year. I live alone and it's very quiet. When the time comes, I invite you to come and have fun. We can go to the mountains to enjoy the flowers and see, eat hot pot and soak in hot springs together." "Ah, is it true? The princess is so kind. Ugh, I really hope the new year will come soon and spring will start soon. There is only a princess mansion for the princess, my mother will definitely agree." "Me too, my mother said that women can't show up casually, so my uncle's house won't let me go more than once." "Me too, my cousin went to the backyard to give me snacks, and my grandma was not happy." The little girls were so happy that they whispered about the discipline at home. Speaking like this, it seems that we have a little secret in common and we are getting closer. It is a shop after all, and there are people coming and going downstairs. Mrsgia and several other ladies only sat there for most of an hour before taking the little girls to leave. It is inevitable that the good news will bring a souvenir for each of the little girls. It was a small straw basket that she specially asked the villagers to help make. The basket also had grids. After filling the snacks, there was a lid upstairs, and there were small decorative flowers on the lid. Those who don't know, think that the little girls are carrying small flower baskets, but actually they are filled with delicious food. The little girls were so happy that they all expressed their sincere thanks and invited Jiyan to play with them often. Mrs. Wen and Tao Hongying were also laughing from ear to ear. Their fat girl finally had a friend. What a joy to congratulate. When they were going out, A group of them happened to meet a girl wearing a curtain hat and bringing a maid into the shop. They walked across from each other at the door. With sharp eyes, Bezu suddenly shouted, "Cousin Wanner." Mrsger heard the sound and looked over. She also recognized her and asked, "It's really Wanner. Why did you come out today?" The girl was slim, stepped forward and saluted, dignified and steady, and said gently, "Auntie, I didn't expect to meet you here either. There was a shortage of commonly used drawing paper at home, so I went out to buy some. I heard that there was a newly opened snack shop, so I thought about buying some for my brother to go back and enjoy." Mrsger said with a smile, "The owner of this shop is very close to our family. Bezu and I are also here to congratulate him today. There are many people inside, so just go home first and I will have someone take him there in a while." The girl obediently agreed and nodded and saluted the ladies. Just as she turned to go down the steps, a carriage suddenly came quickly. The driver was a little slow in pulling the reins, and almost touched Miss Wanner's maid. The maid, who was young, screamed and hid behind her, knocking down Miss Wanner and even tore off her curtain hat. The incident happened so suddenly that everyone was stunned and did not immediately come forward to help. The carriage door was quickly opened, and a young man jumped out. He was wearing a brocade gown with a bamboo pattern, and his hair was with a hosta. He was gentle and handsome, but there was a bit of urgency in his eyebrows. He hesitated for a moment, wrapped his palms with his sleeves, helped up the still confused girl Wanner, and apologized sincerely, "Girl, I'm really sorry. There was something at home. I was anxious and urged the coachman to hurry up, and I accidentally hurt you. Look, are there any injuries? Do you need to see a doctor immediately?" Miss Wanner glanced at the young master, her face turned red with embarrassment. She quickly put on her hat and said, "It doesn't matter, I wasn't hurt. But don't be so reckless next time. There are so many people in the shopping street, it's easy to make big mistakes." The young man quickly saluted, "Thank you for your generosity, miss, I will pay attention next time." At this moment, Mrsger and Bezu had already arrived, protecting Miss Wanner. Mrsger asked, "Is everything okay? Is it not broken?" Miss Wanner waved her hands and lowered her head even more. End of this chapter. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 635. Chapter 635, Making Money Silently is the Way to Go. Mrsger was a little angry and wanted to complain a few words, but Jian ran down the steps, hugged the young man and shouted happily, "Brother! Why are you here?" Mrs Wen and Tao Hongying also hurried forward and asked, "Jian, why did you come back in such a hurry?" Jian hugged his sister, and the first thing he did was to check the back of her head. He even moved her hair and looked carefully for a long time. Then he breathed a long sigh of relief and replied, "I heard that my sister injured the back of her head. I was anxious for a while. Come back and see." Tao Hongying and Mrs Wen were stunned when they heard this, and then Tao Hongying said, dumbfounded, "Don't worry, I took Fu Niuer to celebrate her birthday that day, and something happened. Fu Niuer almost fell down, but luckily I gave him a hand, but he wasn't hurt." "Where did you hear that? It was a false alarm." Jiaran thought for a while and felt a little surprised. It was two classmates who talked about it. Maybe I was impatient and rushed back without hearing what they had to say. Tao Hongying blocked her nephew and daughter behind her and apologized to Mrsger and Miss Wanner in person. "I'm sorry, second madam. This is the eldest son of my second brother. He is studying at Luoan Academy. Although he has the reputation of being a scholar, he is still young and lacks prudence in his actions. He scared Miss Wanner just now. I will give it to Wanner on his behalf. Girl, apologize. This is a flood that has washed away the Dragon King temple. They are all one family. Mrs. naturally couldn't blame her anymore, so she quickly said, Mrs. Lee is too polite, it's just a misunderstanding, and Warner wasn't hurt. I'll send Warner back today, and we'll get together another day. Okay, I'll move around more often in the future. Tao Hongying personally sent Mrs. and her niece to the car. Jian also quickly ordered a few pieces of cream cake and 2 boxes of snacks to be packed in the shop and put them on the Jiao family's carriage as an apology. The other women also took their little girls and left one after another. Before everyone could go back to the backyard, Mrs. Lu also came over in a carriage to join in the fun. For a time, the backyard was full of her own family. When talking about what happened just now, Tao Hongying asked Mrs. Lu and Mrs. Wen where the girl Warner was from. Mrs. Wen looked at Jiaren, who seemed a little uncomfortable, and felt funny in her heart, so she said, Mrs. Jia's maiden name is Seeing all the elders of the previous generation have passed away. The second wife only has one brother who is a 4th grade editor in the Hanlin Academy. Mr. Master Seeing did not take any concubines, he only had one wife and gave birth to a daughter and a son today. This girl, Warner, is the eldest daughter. Mrs. Lu also nodded and said, our family occasionally travels with the Seeing family. Their family has a small population and Mrs. Seeing is not in good health. I heard that the eldest daughter is now taking care of the family affairs. She is very sensible and thoughtful. Everyone in the Li family couldn't help but nod their heads. Although they were not familiar with the Seeing family, they heard that Mr. At this moment, not to mention Tao Hongying, even Mrs. Li was tempted and asked the good news, Fu Niuer, did you see this girl Warner just now? How does she look? Do you like her? Jian secretly glanced at her elder brother and saw that he had a sullen face, pretending not to know that everyone was choosing a wife for him. She couldn't help being naughty and joked, no, Grandma, this girl Warner is very ugly. I felt uncomfortable when I saw her. Sure enough, Jiaren looked up at his sister with an expression of disbelief. It was just a brief encounter, so he didn't fall in love with the girl at first sight. But what is it about such a dignified, polite, and considerate girl that makes my sister dislike her? Jian smiled and winked at her brother. Jiaren immediately understood that he had been deceived, and his face immediately turned red. He quickly stood up and said to his grandma, Grandma, I came back to see you during my lunch break. I will go back now. I will come back to see you when I have some free time in a few days. Old Mrs. Li couldn't bear to see her eldest grandson embarrassed, so she relented and said, okay, you go back to study. Remember not to be too tired. Jian jumped up and quickly called Shui Ling Shuiyun for help. He packed a lot of good things in the shop and asked his eldest brother to take them back for his mother-in-law and brothers to taste. Jiaren rubbed his sister's hair and carried a lot of delicious food back to the academy. In the backyard, the more Mrs. Li thought about it, the more excited she felt. She patted her thigh regretfully, I was really lazy just now. It would be great to go out to entertain guests. I just happened to take a look at this girl from the Seeing family. Mrs. Wen quickly advised, Auntie, the Jiao family is going to visit our home the next day. Let's ask a few questions then. What if the girl is engaged? If we start planning now, wouldn't it be a waste of time? That's right, we'll talk about it when the time comes. Mrs. Li also listened to the advice. After sitting for a while, Mrs. Lu invited Mrs. Wen and Mrs. Li to go shopping elsewhere. Tao Hongying was worried and stayed to help her daughter. Mrs. Li felt sorry for Wenjuan's pregnancy and stayed at home every day, so she took her out for a walk. Jian had guessed that business would be booming, so the shop was well prepared. However, cream cakes cannot be kept for a long time and are baked early in the morning. After all, the quantity is limited. So, as soon as the sun passed overhead, the goods in the shop were sold out. Jian simply closed the door and calculated today's sales. Thanks to the high pricing, although 1/3 of the goods were sent out, there were still more than 100 taels in the money box. After deducting almost negligible costs, the profit is amazingly high. Everyone was happy and praised him one after another. Our Funiur is really good, her profit on this day is more than that of Cyclamen. Yeah, it's just some snacks, but the profit is so high. Sure enough, it is easiest to make money from old people, children, and women. Jian said he was humble, but in fact he was very proud of himself. If she had a tail on her now, she would be shaken like a fan. Hey, it's a fluke, there are many people opening the business today, and the business will drop in a few days. It would be good to have 30 or 40 taels of silver in one day. Jian hugged the money box, his eyes shining. Li Zhensheng couldn't help but smile, and patted his niece on the back. In a few days, there will be more people ordering birthday cakes, and they will definitely earn more than this. Hush, Jian quickly raised her finger to her mouth and told her uncle in a sultry tone, make a fortune in silence, don't show off your wealth. Everyone couldn't help laughing, and Tao Hongying couldn't help but pat her daughter. This kid always has some random words coming out of his mouth. What is showing off wealth, showing off wealth? I'm afraid you are overthinking it. There are so many rich people in the new capital, who can still care about you, a loser? Ah! The good news did not refute my mother, but she hugged the money box tightly. Everyone packed up their things and prepared to go home. Tao Hongying also didn't expect that she was just making a joke, but it turned out to be a prophecy. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 636. Chapter 636. Which is more important, name or destiny? Jian is not a stingy person, so he directly ordered the boy to go to Cyclamen to order a banquet, and asked shopkeeper Peng and Chen 11 to take everyone in the shop to have a good meal to celebrate the good start. As for the end of the month, there will definitely be rewards besides wages. Having a generous master is the luck of all slaves. From shopkeeper Peng to the boy, everyone responded happily, grinning from ear to ear. When the family was going out, Mr. Ho and Mr. Wen happened to come together. It turns out that the shop they were also interested in opening up today, so they came to take a look. Hearing that the goods in the shop had been sold out, and seeing the fat girl's proud look, Mr. Marquis and Mr. Wen were also happy, and they all took the carriage back to Sujintan. At this time, it was not long after noon, and Broken Gold Beach was still busy. With income Inger 202 thereon, except for the necessary patrols, everyone went up to the mountain to pick fruits. It was inevitable that outsiders had entered the village and the village was in chaos. All the fruit sellers who contacted the village took a detour from Xiaoangzhuang to the outside of the hot spring valley. So, when everyone arrived in the village, everything was quiet. Jian didn't feel hungry after eating a full stomach of snacks, so he simply took the pony and went to graze outside the village. The pony is the one that Li Laozi brought back on Jian's birthday. Because of the red color of her fur, she was named Xiaohong. The little fox was the most naughty. He jumped out of nowhere, squatting on Xiaohong's back and waving his big tail. Xiaohong has a good temper and doesn't care about it. She rubs Jian's hand affectionately and begs for food. Jian secretly picked a fruit from the space and fed it to it. The happy little red horse turned its lips and ate it quickly. On the way, the Marquis went to see the noodle shop and the residence of the wounded soldiers in the second village. When he came back, he saw the fat girl and the pony fox together. Such a weird combination made him laugh. He took the pony to the river and taught Jian to wash the pony's fur. The river water is a little cool in autumn, but it sparkles in the sunshine and is very beautiful. A wounded soldier, missing half of his arm and one leg, came to the river to wash himself on crutches. He was very happy to see the Marquis here and stepped forward to salute. The Marquis motioned for him to sit on the big stone, and then asked a few simple words, "Is there anything you're not used to when settling here?" "No, Lord Marquis," the wounded soldier was very excited and said quickly, "every day I live in a new house, sleep on a hot bed, and eat at midnight. I feel like I am turning into a fat pig. Now I hope that the workshop will start working soon, otherwise I will feel guilty and waste food." The Marquis smiled, patted the little red horse, and said, "Don't worry, after picking the fruits in the village, it's time to set up a noodle workshop for you with free hands. Don't spend the wages you earn in the future. If there is a chance, I will send people to the poor areas in the south to find women who are willing to start a family. By then you will also have a family, and you will be more stable for the rest of your life." The wounded soldier was very excited and responded with a red face, "It all depends on the arrangement of the Marquis." After a few idle words, the wounded soldiers retreated. Perhaps he saw hope in his life. He was walking very fast with a cane in his remaining hand. Jian pulled the tail of the little fox and said to the Marquis, "Father, I also know some ways to make vermicelli from potatoes. When there are more potatoes next year, we can open another workshop and we can take in more by then. Some people." The Marquis shook the water droplets on his hands, smiled and rubbed her hair, and finally sighed softly and said, "This was originally a matter for the court, but now it has fallen on your golden beach. All the civil and military officials, what a waste." Jian didn't want his adoptive father to be angry, so he quickly said, "Isn't my father training those new soldiers? They will definitely tell their families after they have suffered, and then they will all know that it is not easy to be a soldier." The Marquis smiled and said nothing. If it were so easy, he wouldn't be trapped in Zindu every day, arguing with various yamen. On the second day, Good News did not let grandma and mother follow her, but only took Grandma He and Shui Ling to Bianjian. With yesterday's experience, the store has twice as much stock as yesterday. But it was still full as soon as it opened, and the customers almost stepped over the threshold. There were many repeat customers who bought yesterday. They all took cakes and snacks home. The elderly and children liked them, and they were urged to buy some more today. Even after hearing the news, they came to see and taste something new. There are also guests starting to stay on the second floor, and all 4 private rooms are full. One box contains several young men, and the other 3 boxes contain women and little girls. Yesterday, Shui Ling and Shui Yun helped to greet the guests. Today, it is a bit inconvenient to have a boy to take care of the female guests. Shopkeeper Pen was in a bit of a dilemma, but at this moment, Good News arrived. Jian also felt that she lacked consideration, so she immediately asked Shui Ling to go to the home mansion to find the housekeeper, and temporarily transferred 2 maids to help. The little maid was very smart and immediately put herself into the work. If she didn't understand anything, she would ask questions and quickly took care of the second floor. Shopkeeper Pen was speechless with envy, but he also knew that this was alone, so he still wanted to find people, train them quickly, and replace them. The shop has just opened, and a small problem here or a little trouble there is inevitable. Shopkeeper Pen has a lot of experience, and Chen 11 and others are willing to work hard, which makes up for most of it. It really can't be solved, and there is still Jiyan as the owner. So, I managed to survive the second day smoothly. As soon as guests enter the shop, because of the novelty, they rarely leave empty-handed. Of course more people stayed in front of the door for a longer time, and even looked at the plaque until their necks became sore. It's really the emperor's calligraphy treasure. Yeah, I thought it was spread by ignorant women, but I didn't expect. 2 middle-aged men stood in front of the door, talking in low voices, with a bit of disapproval in their expressions. They are the censors of the court and have the power to report events. Originally they thought that someone's new shop was spreading rumors and building publicity for the shop, but they also wanted to show their presence to show the value of their existence. How did you expect that the emperor really awarded a plaque to a small dessert shop, and even participated in the management? Should this be played? Are you saying that the emperor is competing for interests with the people and reminding the emperor to be careful in his words and deeds? They couldn't help but touch their necks and immediately gave up the idea. Although the imperial court moved to the new capital and lost half of its territory, the emperor took advantage of the situation to gain military power and held it tightly in his hands through the Marquis of Zinting. He acted much more powerfully than before. Your Majesty may not be able to touch certain people, but it is too easy to attack these two talkative censors. The two looked at each other and smiled awkwardly. That new snack seems very sweet. Can you buy some to take home to comfort the children? Okay, me too, I'll buy some for my grandson. The two of them entered the shop and each spent a few taels of silver before they dispersed. Shopkeeper Peng and others have seen many such situations and have no time to pay more attention. Jiyan remembered that the Jiao family would come to visit her home tomorrow, so she closed the shop in the afternoon. She temporarily asked the master to fry some more potato chips and popcorn, and then took them back home. End of this chapter. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 637. Chapter 637, It's Too Late to Meet Each Other. As a result, as soon as the good news left, customers came to the shop. They are all shopkeepers of several other dessert shops in the city. Shopkeeper Pen welcomed them in and went to the backyard to drink tea and chat. The moods of several shopkeepers are somewhat complicated. They all heard that the business in Bianjian was very good, and they even secretly bought cakes and snacks to taste. But this time when I came here, I saw with my own eyes that the goods were sold out among the white clouds as soon as the sun came up. They were so jealous that they were going crazy. You know, for many years before, they had easily crushed Shopkeeper Peng. Shopkeeper Peng saw their expressions and felt extremely happy, but on the surface he still entertained them in a friendly manner. The shopkeepers reluctantly said a few words of congratulations and left in a hurry. Chen 11 approached Shopkeeper Peng and asked, "What's going on with these people? Come here just to say congratulations." "Huh," Shopkeeper Peng sneered, "they don't believe that our business is good or that we are better than them. They have to see it with their own eyes. After all, I have been the boss for a long time, and I feel uncomfortable when I am suddenly snatched away from my first position." Chen 11 rolled his eyes and said disdainfully, "You have to endure the discomfort. Are they only allowed to make money and we can only drink the northwest wind? Besides, this time the princess asked the emperor to reward him with a plaque. Even if they want to have a wrong idea, they have to weigh it. Shopping malls are like battlefields. For the sake of money, many people use dirty methods. Not to mention anything else, last month a long-established Xiaobing shop was poisoned and almost killed someone, and later had to close down." Shopkeeper Pen was alert, but he still asked, "Let me tell you, don't think that everything will be safe with the protection of the plaque awarded by the emperor. We still can't let down our guard and be on guard at all times to be on the lookout for someone with erroneous intentions. The princess can trust us, so we must be more careful and not betray the trust of the princess." "Yes, the shopkeeper is right." Chen 11 nodded, and then said, "Shopkeeper, although my right hand is much better and I don't miss my work, I am the only one in the shop who can decorate flowers. If I can do it someday, wouldn't an illness or accident delay business? This time I'm looking for female assistants. Can you also find 2 young apprentices for me? I'll teach an extra teacher on weekdays. If something happens, they can temporarily step in." Shopkeeper Pen was stunned for a moment, then slowly smiled and patted Chen 11 on the shoulder. "My boss really didn't misjudge you, and you didn't hide anything. It's great." Chen 11 said matter-of-factly, "My craftsmanship was taught by my employer, not my own, so why should I hide it? Besides, if you train 2 apprentices, there will be more people to work on, the shop will do well, and you can make more money for the owner. Shopkeeper Peng smiled even more heartily. Okay, okay, if this continues, our shop's business will definitely get better and better. I didn't say how they discussed how to run the shop better, but I just said that after one night and 3 o'clock in the morning, the Geo family's carriage arrived at Broken Gold Beach. They passed the roadblock on the other side of the second village and arrived in front of Lee's house smoothly. The Geo family has only 2 children in the second room. Bezu's brother is studying away from home, far away from home. Bezu is the second wife's older daughter and is loved by the whole family. So, she was almost killed by a peanut, and when the whole family found out about it later, they were all shocked. Naturally, everyone was grateful for the good news. This time we came to visit to express our gratitude. Not only did Mr. Jia and his wife bring the orbs, but Mrs. Jia also came with them. Li Lao specially stayed at home to entertain guests and invited Mr. Jia to talk in the study room in the front yard. The rest, Mrs. Jia, second Mrs. Jia and Bezu, were all welcomed into the suite in the backyard. Mrs. Li lived a difficult life in her early years. In order to support her family and protect her children and grandchildren, she endured all kinds of hardships. Her expression was inevitably a bit stern and cold. Now, the Li family has settled in Sujintan, their children and grandchildren are prosperous, and they have no worries about food and clothing. She has put on some weight. When peace comes out of your heart, you become kind-hearted and kind-hearted. At this moment, she and Mrs. Jia were sitting on the edge of the Kong, eating fruit and talking about trivial matters at home, and unexpectedly lost their temper. Mrs. Jia was also very happy. She originally came to say thank you, but she never expected to gain an old sister. Especially since both of them lost their husbands early and raised their children together, just talking about these bitter tears made their relationship go a step further. Jiyan and Bezu were sitting at the end of the Kong, chattering about the business of the shop and the fun things about Broken Gold Beach. It was also lively. The little fox Santiago followed and made trouble, which made Baozu especially want to touch its big tail. Jiyan bribed Sanjiao with a roasted rabbit, and he got as many pearls as he wished, making him giggle loudly. Mrs. Wen and Tao Hongying were sandwiched in the middle with Mrs. Jia. Seeing how happy the old man was and how lively the children were playing, they couldn't help laughing. Mrs. Jia said, "Why do I feel that it is too late for our 2 families to move around? It seems that the old man and the child have known each other for a long time. This closeness is really rare." Tao Hongying said with a smile, "I think so too. I always go to the city on weekdays, and Fu Niuer also has to learn the rules and skills. She often leaves her mother-in-law at home alone, so she must be very lonely. It's going to be better in the future. I'll definitely invite your old lady to come and sit there often. You can enjoy flowers in the spring, eat melons in the fields in the summer, pick fruits in the autumn, and even eat hot pot and soak in the hot springs in the winter. Our Broken Gold Beach is never short of excitement." "Oh, I heard what you said. Not to mention my mother-in-law, I want to come and live here permanently." Mrs. Jia smiled happily, then stuffed a gift note to Tao Hongying and said, "I found some fabrics and gadgets in the warehouse. Send it to the princess to thank her for saving the orb that day. Fourth madam, you are also a mother. You must know that our daughter is our heartthrob. I don't even dare to think about how I will survive if the orb comes out. So, don't refuse, this is all my intention. I must ask the princess to accept it." Tao Hongying didn't want to see what was on the gift list, and she definitely couldn't refuse it, so she simply accepted it and said, "Okay, I'll accept it for Fu Niuer. In fact, our Fu Niuer doesn't have many friends on weekdays, and now I know your family. Orb, it's so good. Bezu is safe and sound, and we are happy to be our little sisters with Fu Niuer for a long time. The 2 families are interested in making good friends, so naturally the more they talk, the closer and lively they become. Seeing that the sun was reaching noon, Tao Hongying went to prepare food. The old and young ladies naturally set up the table in the backyard, and Li Laoer still accompanied Master Jia in the study. Tao Hongying is already good at cooking, so she added 2 new dishes made from potatoes. As a staple food, she fried golden corn pancakes and steamed corn cakes. The Jia family also planted some corn and potatoes this year. Firstly, they want to keep it for next year to continue farming. Secondly, the cook at home doesn't know how to take care of it, so they haven't eaten it even once. Now when I eat these 2 high-yielding grains in the Li family, they both feel delicious. End of this chapter. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 638. Chapter 638, this request is not too much. Especially Beizu, she especially likes corn cakes and ate 3 or 4 of them in a row. Mrs. Jia also likes the soft texture of corn cakes. In the front yard, Mr. Jia didn't like wine, so he finished his meal quickly. Li Laoer asked him to go for a walk in the hot spring valley to relax and eat. When Mrs. Li heard about it, she also invited Mrs. Jia to pick fruits in the orchard. This is a novelty, Mrs. Jia happily agreed. Jiyan took Beizu to see her pony, and even let Shui Ling lead the horse and walk around the yard several times with Beizu on its back. The excited Beizu turned red and shouted to go out. Mammy he hurriedly followed, and all the way to the orchard, Beizu got off the horse and went to pick and eat the fruits. Mrs. Wen was pregnant, and Wen Juan's belly was even bigger. It was difficult for her to go up the mountain, so she stayed at home. There was something minor going on in the second village. Xiaoqui called for it and Tao Hongying went to deal with it. Mrs. Wen took this opportunity and asked Mrs. Jia about the girl Wanner she met the day before. Mrs. Jia only has one niece, and because her sister-in-law is in poor health, her niece has already taken charge of the family, so she loves her very much. The day before yesterday, the boy from the Li family met his niece by chance. After she returned home, she was thinking about it. To be honest, my niece's marriage is a bit embarrassing. Although the Singh family was prosperous and upright, her eldest brother was just a book repairman. Originally, this job was considered noble, but now that we are trapped in the south of the Yangtze River, this job can't help the emperor to stabilize the country, let alone resist the barbarians and regain the lost territory. It is really useless. Furthermore, her sister-in-law is not in good health and there is a little boy at home. If anyone marries a niece, he will have to take care of his father-in-law's family and recruit his brother-in-law. No matter how you think about it, it will be a heavy burden. Hence, wealthy and powerful people don't dare to think about it, and their niece cannot marry into it. Even if you get married and suffer misfortune, your family will not be able to support you. But if you marry your niece to a low-level official, or even a merchant, whose family background is not as good as that of the Singh family, it will really be buried. In this way, there are some things that are too high and too low to be achieved. At this time, the Li family suddenly came into her sight. No matter how she thought about it, she thought it was a good opportunity. First of all, the second wife of the Li family has the title of Earl. Li Jian is the eldest son of the second wife. He is good at studying and good looking. He will also be an earl in the future. When his niece marries, he will be a proper concubine. Furthermore, Li Jian's mother passed away. Even if Uncle Li married again in the future, it would be to fill a house, and he would not dare to put on airs with his eldest son's wife. The niece does not have to be suppressed and bullied by her mother-in-law. Finally, everything she saw in the Li family, old and young, was harmonious and life was prosperous. Her niece would definitely be treated well when she got married. Thinking about this, Mrs. Jia's second wife had a positive meaning in her words when she talked to Mrs. Wen. My niece just got haircut this spring, and the family is planning another marriage for her, but there is no suitable one at the moment. This child is sensible, and I feel sorry for her. I want to find a good family for her who knows her roots well. Mrs. Wen was happy to hear this and said, "This is the truth. A woman's marriage is like reincarnation for the second time. She must choose carefully. Not only should you look at the man, but you should also look at whether the family is harmonious. It is best to be like the Li family, where people are prosperous, work together, and life is prosperous." Mrs. nodded and was about to speak when she suddenly remembered something and looked a little embarrassed, so she sighed and said, "Actually, my niece is also a child with a stubborn temper and has her own ideas, otherwise her marriage would have been decided long ago." "That's right. It's been delayed until now because of a small request." "What's the small request?" Mrs. Wen asked curiously. Even Wen Juan, who had been smiling and silent, looked at Mrs. Mrs. said, "My eldest brother has only married one sister-in-law in his whole life. He is very affectionate. My niece sees it and hopes to find a husband who will not take concubines. The husband and wife can live together and live wholeheartedly. But this is not an easy matter. Even if others don't tell me, our master already respects me very much and is devoted to the education of his children, so he has taken 2 concubines. I'm afraid there are too few men in the world who are willing to be devoted." Mrs. Wen was stunned for a moment, then smiled, "I don't think it's a big deal. Miss Warner doesn't have high expectations at all. Why do you sigh?" This time, it was Mrs.'s turn to be surprised and asked, "Isn't this a high request?" Several marriage proposals were discussed before, but in the end there was no news because of this request. Mrs. Wen replied, "Perhaps it is really difficult to put this matter in other people's homes, but to find a truly suitable home, it is nothing at all. For example, in Aunt Li's house, neither the uncle nor the Grn brothers are allowed to take concubines. Aunt Li said that taking concubines will easily lead to chaos in the family. Even if the uncle and the eldest man do not remarry their wives, they would rather have Aunt Li take care of everything than keep a concubine." Mrs.'s eyes were very bright. She was actually testing it. She didn't expect that the Li family really had a rule against taking concubines. Now she found a treasure. She wished she could immediately agree to the marriage for her niece, but she didn't discuss it with her brother and sister-in-law. Therefore, she could only suppress her excitement and said, "So, Aunt Li is really wise. If there are too many wives and concubines at home, people's hearts will be confused, and life will naturally be stumbling. I hope my Warner will have such good luck in the future and find a good husband's family like the Li family." "It will definitely happen," Mrs. Wen said happily, but also did not speak too absolutely, and continued, "It all depends on fate. When fate comes, it will naturally fall into place. If fate does not come, don't be afraid, just take your time and look for it again." Mrs. nodded and quickly changed the topic. Besides, Li Lauer accompanied Mr. Jr. and wandered around the valley, orchards, and villages. Walking to the side of the workshop in the second village, Mr. Jr. frowned as he watched the wounded soldiers working in and out on crutches. Li Lauer saw him and took him into the workshop. Several veterans who were seriously injured and unable to go to the orchard to pick fruits have been cleaning up the workshop yard these days. When Li Lauer came in, they all greeted him with courtesy. Li Lauer asked about trivial matters, and then said, "In 2 days, when the fruits are picked, our workshop will start making noodles. If you want to rest by then, I'm afraid you won't be able to. Taking advantage of these few days, you can also take some rest and don't be too tired." "No, uncle, we are not tired," one of the wounded soldiers said with a smile, "we are all anxious to start work early. Yesterday, Mr. Marquis said personally that he will give us a wife next year, so we can make more money. My son's wages are used to buy betrothal gifts." "Oh, really?" Li Lauer also smiled and said, The Marquis said it, so it must be true. In the spring of next year, let the pig house raise a few more big fat pigs. When you get married, you can have a good time. The wounded soldiers thanked them one after another and worked even harder. Master Jair couldn't hold it back and asked a wounded soldier, "Didn't the imperial court give you money as a pension? Why are you still working here? Isn't it hard?" End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 639. Chapter 639, Using the Heart of a Villain to Judge the Heart of a Gentleman. The wounded soldier was confused when he heard this, and replied, "Sir, the money given by the court is not enough for us to take medicine to recover from our injuries, let alone survive in the future. We have received the care of Mr. Marquis and settled here. From now on, we can earn money by our own efforts, which makes us feel at ease. Besides, what's hard work but not hard work? Who doesn't have to work hard to survive?" Mr. Jair felt a little embarrassed. He has been well-fed since he was a child, and because of his weak health, he has been taking care of his health at home since he passed the examination to become a scholar. Writing and painting on weekdays, rarely walking around outside. Even when she got married and had children, her wife was always present at home and outside. In this way, he has developed the appearance of not eating the fireworks of the world and not knowing the sufferings of the world. When he went out today, his wife gave her instructions again and again. Unexpectedly, he did something stupid again. Li Lauer was tactful and saw his embarrassment, so he let the wounded soldier continue to work, then accompanied him out of the workshop and walked slowly home. Giaziandi didn't know something. These wounded soldiers came off the battlefield with serious injuries. They were worried about how to survive in the future, and they couldn't accept the sudden loss of their limbs and became disabled, so many of them committed suicide. Although our family comes from a peasant family and has little foundation, the whole village is willing to save money on food and clothing to support these heroes who sacrificed their lives for the country. He sighed deeply and continued, "But humans, if they only eat and sleep every day, wouldn't they be like raising pigs?" So the family tried their best to find a way to open a workshop for these wounded soldiers in the future. They would make dry noodles and sell them to people walking out. They could cook them and eat them on the road, which was very convenient. These wounded soldiers stopped committing suicide when they knew they could survive on their own, and the village settled them at this intersection to protect the safety of the entire village. They felt more needed, and their lives became more enjoyable. Mr. Jair nodded as he listened, becoming more and more ashamed. For a moment, he actually suspected that the Li family had embezzled the pension money for the wounded soldiers. He quickly straightened his sleeves, and then bowed deeply to Li Lauer. "I'm sorry, uncle, I judged a gentleman with a villain's heart. The Li family is righteous, and I can't be better off. Really, it's shameful." Li Lauer helped him up and said with a smile, "It's just a small matter. My dear brother is also concerned about these heroes who protect the country. He is worried that they will be bullied and that they will live a bad life. This is the kindness and righteousness of my dear brother. From now on, when the dry noodles in the workshop are made, I will have to ask my dear brother to help spread the word." Okay, I will definitely help." Mr. Jair was coaxed into laughing, and he wished he could buy 100 pounds of it right away. In the Li family yard, Jian and Bezu worked together to carry a basket of fruits and ran in from the outside. Their faces turned red from exhaustion, then they dropped the basket and ran to show off. "Mom, look, I picked so many fruits, and Sister Jian told me to eat them all." Bezu hugged Mrs. Jair's neck, as excited as a bird out of its cage. Jian didn't see my mother, so she ran to hug Mrs. Wen's arm and said, "Sister, Aunt, the fruit is much sweeter than before. I'll wash it for you later." "Okay, Our Fu Niu is the best behaved one. Mrs. Wen smiled happily, took off the silver comb from her hair, and rearranged the fat girl's messy pigtails. When Mrs. Jia saw her like this, she smiled and said, "If you don't know, you would think you are mother and daughter. They are too close." Mrs. Wen nodded and said, "I regard Fu Niu as my daughter. When I was in trouble, I might not have survived without Fu Niu. From now on, regardless of whether the child in my belly is a boy or a girl, I will call him Sister Fu Niu." Mrs. Jia smiled and said, "The princess must be a good sister. You see, my Beizu only met the princess once, but she talked about her so much for 3 or 4 days that my ears almost grew calluses. I will tell the old lady to change the threshold to a higher one later, otherwise this girl will always come here from now on, and I am afraid that the threshold of your house will be worn down by 2 inches. Everyone laughed when they heard this. At this time, Mrs. Li and Mrs. Jia slowly walked in from the outside. Mrs. Jia said with a smile, "These 2 little girls run so fast that we 2 old bones really can't catch them." Everyone hurriedly supported them. They sat down and served tea and water. The 2 old ladies also picked a basket of fruits. Mrs. Jia said with a smile, "This mountain is full of fruits, let alone eating them. Just looking at the red branches makes me very happy. Coming here today has opened my eyes. Old sister, you are living a great life. You are much more comfortable than the rest of us who are locked up in the big house." Mrs. Li laughed and said, "Then you can come here often with your orbs, and the older one can play together, and the younger one can play together without delaying each other." Everyone laughed and joined in the fun, making the 2 old ladies even happier. At this time, Jia Huan came back from the city. When he entered the yard and saw so many people, he was stunned. Mrs. Li quickly called him forward, saluted, and introduced the Jia family. Jia Huan's appearance is not outstanding, he is not as elegant and gentle as Jia Ren, and he is not as sunny and handsome as Jia Yi, but his eyebrows are very peaceful, and his smile is honest and down to earth. He is the favorite look of the elderly. Mrs. Jia held Jia Huan's hand and talked for a long time. Jia Huan responded one by one without being impatient at all, which made Mrs. Jia like her even more. Beizu sat aside and twitched his nose for a long time. Then he pulled Jiyan's sleeve and asked, "Sister Jiyan, there is a fragrance, can you smell it?" Jiyan blinked twice and smiled after guessing something. "I smelled it too, it seemed like fried quail." Jia Huan blushed upon hearing this, and quickly took out an oil paper bag from her sleeve, and whispered, "Wen Juan said she wanted to eat a few days ago, so I bought a few when I saw her today." Wen Juan, who was sitting next to Mrs. Wen, also had a red face. Normally, her husband always provides food for her, and she is used to it, but today, with so many guests here, her husband is still like this. Lest people say she is greedy, or that her husband is useless because he hangs around his daughter-in-law. Old Mrs. Li didn't want her grandson and granddaughter-in-law to be embarrassed, so she quickly interrupted, "Yes, Wen Juan is pregnant. You can give her whatever she wants to eat. Wen Juan has been sitting for a long time. Please help her lie down in the back and eat slowly. Don't worry about the front. There is nothing to do at home." Jia Huan nodded, but still opened the oil paper bag and divided Jiyan and Beizu each into a fried quail. He wanted to give it to Mrs. Wen, but Mrs. Wen waved her hand and said, "I want to eat, so let your uncle buy it. You two, go and eat in the back." Jia Huan then helped Wen Wan back to the backyard, causing everyone to look at their backs and laugh. Mrs. Jia saw it clearly from beginning to end. Everyone in the Li family, young and old, had smiles on their faces. They were all happy that the young couple had a good relationship, and no one was jealous or angry. This is so rare. You should know that in many families, the elders are afraid that their children and grandchildren will marry their daughter-in-law. Instead, they do not listen to the family's advice, so they try their best to manipulate their daughter-in-law. Once the couple is distracted, they will accuse the daughter-in-law of being ignorant, which is really annoying. So, it is difficult to be a daughter-in-law, and here is the key. But the Lee family is obviously not like this. The old lady is kind and sensible, the daughters-in-law are diligent and filial, and even the little granddaughter is cute and lovable. If a girl from that family can marry in, the date will definitely be right. End of this chapter. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, delayed flowering. Chapter 640. Chapter 640, this is not about face, it's about hope. Mrsger was really tempted at this moment. She wanted to go back to her brother's house and talk about it immediately. Soon, Li Lauer came back with Mr. Ger. Everyone chatted for a while, and the Geo family was about to leave. Beza couldn't bear to leave Jian and almost had red eyes when she hugged her. It wasn't until Jian promised to give her delicious food and always go to play with her that she was happy. The two children got along well. Both families were happy to see each other and said goodbye affectionately. After seeing off the Geo family, the young and old of the Li family sat together and looked at the list of Thanksgiving gifts, and they were all shocked. Mrsger has spent a lot of money to buy everything from silks and fabrics, jewelry and jade furnishings, medicinal materials, etc. Approximately calculated, these things are worth 500 taels of silver. Mrs. Li couldn't help but sigh, this gift is too heavy. Tao Hongying thought for a while and said, Mom, if someone saved Fu Niuer's life, I would definitely express my gratitude like this. After all, nothing is as important as the child's life. The Geo family sincerely thanks you. Let's keep it first. This family has good conduct and character. We will get along with each other more often in the future, so we can return the favor slowly. Mrs. Wen also said, yes, Hongying is right. Mrsger has this temper. She was the one with the most cheerful temper in the school. If you like someone, you like it without reservation. If you don't like it, you won't like it no matter how you look at it. From now on, Hongying will walk around with her more, and with her as her guide, she will be able to get familiar with every house in Zindu faster. Originally I could do it, but as my belly gradually grows bigger, and I am still in confinement to raise a child, I am afraid I won't have so much free time to go out and socialize. Okay, you can take good care of yourself, these are all small things. Mrs. Li patted Mrs. Wen's hand, this has already helped our family a lot. Without you, our family would not be able to find a way to socialize. Tao Hongying handed the gift list to her daughter. Jian took a look at it and saw that the items were good, but she was not short of them either, so she simply gave them all to my mother and kept them as gifts for later. After a few more idle words, everyone dispersed. The busy days always pass by quickly, and in a blink of an eye it's 7 or 8 days again. The fruits on the mountain have finally been picked, what needs to be sold is sold, and what needs to be put into the cellar has been settled and tidied up. It is almost October. When I woke up early, there was already a layer of white frost visible on the ground. The old people have changed into quilted jackets and trousers, but only the energetic boys still wear coarse clothes, take off their school bags, and run in the cold wind every morning and evening. Over in the second village, the children of the newly moved families have entered the school and become new friends. Every day, apart from studying, the boys gathered together to collect firewood, cut willow sticks, go up the mountain to find missing fruits, and go down to the river to catch fish. It was almost crazy. Even if the autumn harvest is over, the people in the village will not have any time to spare. Part of them went to cut firewood and store it for the winter. Part of them followed Mr. Zhou and Li Lauer, busy working on the foundation of the princess's mansion, and occasionally went into the city to go to the earl's mansion. Every day, with his hands behind his back and a pipe and pot in hand, the village chief visited the foundation of the princess's mansion, then the noodle workshop, and then went to the valley after seeing the workshop. Such daily worries and efforts should be tiring, but the old man is in surprisingly good health and full of energy. Everyone in the village and the Li family saw this and didn't stop him from going around. In the noodle workshop, Tao Hongying is wearing an apron and her hair is wrapped, accompanied by Huaniyang and Xiaoqui, and is leading the veterans to make the first batch of noodles. In fact, every process of handmade noodles is not difficult, but it is very complicated and requires patience and experience. Kneading dough, rising dough, soaking in oil, rolling into strips, hanging up over and over again, just listening to it is troublesome. Fortunately, the wounded soldiers were all partially disabled, and the most important thing they needed was time and patience. If they are asked to learn from beginning to end, no one can guarantee that they will learn well. But if everyone only learns one process, it will be much simpler. He is strong enough to knead the dough, careful to proof it, and dexterous to roll it into strips. Even if he only has one hand, he can still hang the dough. I made a lot of noodles last night. After a busy night and morning, by noon, rows of wooden poles were hung on the specially built flat roof of the workshop. The white noodles are like frozen raindrops. With the blowing of the autumn wind and the exposure of the sun, they gradually transform into a suitable shape. The wounded soldiers stood downstairs, looking at the rows of noodles, their eyes full of excitement. This is not noodles, this is their hope of self-reliance and survival. Tao Hongying took off her apron and said to Xiaoqui, "Here, keep an eye more closely. We will fry a pot of meat sauce tonight and cook dry noodles for everyone to eat." Some wounded soldiers were reluctant to part with them and quickly waved their hands to refuse. "For madam, let's just have some porridge. Let's keep the noodles and sell them." "Yes, fourth madam, it's a pity that such good food is given to us," others also echoed. Tao Hongying insisted, "You made this with your own hands. If you don't know what it tastes like, how can you hold your head high and tell others it tastes good? This is the beginning, and it seems strange to me later. When you do more, you will see noodles when you open and close your eyes, and sometimes you will feel tired of it." Everyone said nothing and looked forward to dinner in the evening. Tao Hongying left the workshop, and Huaniyang wanted to see some soldiers who had moved there, but Li Laosi came back with Jian and Jiaxi. Tao Hongying was overjoyed and asked quickly, "Where did you come back from? Did these two boys get into trouble?" "Mom, why don't you believe your son?" Jian protested with a smile, and said proudly, "Brother Jiaxi and I have learned our skills well and got 2 days off. If you don't believe me, will you listen to what I say?" After saying that, he talked about a few miles. Jiaxi also showed off, and the two started talking. Tao Hongying felt a headache after hearing this, and quickly waved her hands, "Please spare my ears. I know you have learned well, so go home quickly and prepare delicious food for you." Jia 11 and Jian both still had more to say, so Jian said, "Let's go find my sister. My sister will definitely understand." The two of them joined together and quickly disappeared without a trace, making Tao Hongying really dumbfounded. At once, everyone returned to Li's house. Mrs. Li was chatting with her two grandsons. When she saw her son and daughter-in-law coming back, she asked, "Should we send someone to Luoan to ask if it's time for Jian and brother Li to take a vacation and study in the south with Zhensheng? It would be better if we could come back a few days early, and let the brothers get together while the An family is there. There are also family obligations, and it's really hard to see each other even if they are out all day." My mother spoke. How could Li Laosi not pay attention to it, and quickly called his soldiers to explain. Soon, the soldiers headed to Luoan on horseback. Jia and Jiaxi heard that his sister had gone to Dr. Zhang, so he went to find a familiar naughty boy in the village. Needless to say, we have to go up mountains and down rivers to have a good time. Over at Luoan Academy, Jiaran was packing up his belongings in his dormitory. He was about to go to Quanzhou. After leaving for a few months, it was difficult to store the things he used daily in the academy, so he planned to pack them up and send them to his small school. Hospital. Brother Lee finished packing his things, came over to help, and said, "Brother, we are leaving, and Brother Cat is left to study by himself." Jiren heard the concern in his tone and said, "Don't be afraid, there are still 3 uncles and 3 aunts in the cafeteria. Others will definitely not dare to bully him, but he will be alone." But look, in their school, many students of the same age are alone. There are no family members outside to take care of them, and there are no servants around them. This time, we are not here, so let him exercise and learn slowly. Just take care of yourself. End of this chapter.